Muted. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to Blazers Uprise Live here on a Monday. It's All-Star break. It's been a minute since we streamed, but we're back for our only stream in the course of like an entire week. And we got some stuff to talk about today, including the Blazers viewership being down a whopping 60%. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about what's to blame for that. We're going to talk about ownership and, some of the criticisms with that. I had a riveting conversation on Twitter today with Travis Demers. I kind of want to reference that conversation a little bit. And then we're going to talk about the All-Star game, Dame, and his success. And then at the end of it, we'll take your questions. We'll chat. That's going to be today's stream. I got Rundown on the left. Just figured I'd try out this graphic. You'll actually see this graphic on a random sports channel in the next couple of months. I kind of just took my own creation for somebody else just to try it out for this stream to see if you guys like having this. But yeah, you'll see it somewhere. Let me know if you see it. I don't know if any of you watch the channel that I'm making this for. But anyway, Eric, how's the layoff? How are you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good. Unlike a lot of people, I enjoyed All-Star Weekend. Both having no Blazer games to talk about losses for, and also the fact that Dame did fairly well. So I thought it was a pretty good weekend. How about you?
Oh, it was a good weekend, man. I mean, I relaxed. It was nice to take some time off. I feel a little bit refreshed right now. Actually was excited to go live tonight. And, during the course of a season, I still enjoy streaming, but the grind definitely wears on you, especially when viewership is down, especially when the team is brutal. And, just kind of was waiting for this All-Star break, but looking forward to streaming tonight and taking a couple more days off, and then we'll have a stream on Thursday, and then we'll be back to games on Friday. So yeah, man, enjoy myself. Watch some NASCAR today. Didn't exactly end how I wanted it to, but that's that. And ready to hang out with chat and talk about some things today. So anyway, chat, how's your All-Star break? Let us know how you guys are doing. Let me know how your weekend was in the live chat. Eric, let's just jump straight into it, bro. So I didn't know exactly what I was going to title this stream tonight, and then I was gifted from above. I was gifted the perfect stream title and the perfect conversation piece, and that was that Blazers viewership is down over last year more than any other team in the league, and there was two separate numbers that I saw tossed out there. I went with the bigger number for the title, for the thumbnail. One number that was reported, I forget where this was reported, but one number was it's down 60%. One number was, and this I think was KGW, if I recall correctly, it's down 49%. Regardless, that's huge, and that's massive, and that's something we got to talk about, especially, this is a good time to talk about it, the state of affairs as is with this team over the All-Star break regardless, but my goodness, man, 50 to 60% viewership is down. Did that surprise you at all, or was that something that you were not surprised by, that you expected?
The number being that high surprised me.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it should be no surprise that viewership is down, and no surprise that it should be amongst the worst in the NBA in terms of the biggest decline from last year. But yeah, just the number being that big surprised me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, 60%, it's hard to put into context, right? Like, that's what, if you had 100 viewers, you'd have 60 left, or if it's down 60%, you'd have 40 left. I don't exactly know how
40 left, yeah.
40 left. I feel like our post-game views aren't down by quite that much compared to last year, although if you just look at the start of the season, like, we were doing crazy views at the start of the season when this team was actually good. Because, people were excited. But we've seen the decline over here, just not that drastically. So if I was going to guess before this came out, I would have guessed something based on, like, our YouTube viewership numbers. And I would have probably guessed, like, 25 to 30%. It being 50 to 60% is massive. And the thing is there could be, like, many different reasons, which I guess is why I shouldn't be too surprised. Before we talk about the reasons, I want to ask chat, what's the biggest reason? I'll do a chat poll. What's the biggest reason viewership is down so much? Okay, the factors, Eric. The Root Sports deal, which we've been vocal about how much it sucks. Okay. Damian Lillard being gone. Shout out to him. We got the team sucks. Is there any other reasons that you want to toss out here for chat to vote amongst?
I think Root Sports and ownership should be the other two, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, Root Sports was number one, which,
yeah.
like, you know, just the entire TV deal.
Yeah.
And then ownership, I guess. Yeah, we'll go with that. So there's your chat poll, chat. Let you guys vote in that, and then I'll get Eric's opinion on what's most to blame, because I think it's a factor of all these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just debatable as to which one is the biggest factor in all of this. Looks like after 30 votes, 40% of people saying it's because the team sucks, because they're rebuilding. 24% say the Root Sports deal. 24% say Damian Lillard being gone. And 17% say ownership, which, of course, you know, ownership does affect all these things, especially the Root Sports deal. But, yeah, you know, it's, I think some people aren't invested because they're big Dame fans. Dame being gone doesn't have the same feel around the team. Some people just get tired of losing year after year after year. We're basically in year 3 of a rebuild. Officially, it's year 1. So I think all these things are to blame. Eric, what do you think is the biggest thing to blame for the Blazers' viewership being down so much?
I think it all trickles down from ownership not caring about fans.
Yeah.
And everything falls from there. Because, I mean, this goes back to the early 2000s where they signed a horrible Comcast deal where half the city can't get the games. Even if they want to pay extra, there's just you can't get Comcast for half the city. And this is before there was like streaming options and stuff like that. And then when that TV deal ran out, do they do anything to fix that? Nope. They re-sign the deal with the same company.
Yep.
And it's been going on now for like 20 years or so, where a good portion of the fan base can't even watch a game on their TV if they want to. I mean, just the fact that they continue to do that. And then you hear comments like, well, we're on more TVs now than we were back then. No one gives a crap how many TVs you are on anymore. It's all about streaming now. And there's a record number of people this year and last year cutting the cord. And they have, I mean, not many people have Fubo TV, right? It's not one of the bigger things. They don't have a lot of channels on it.
And Fubo TV is just an awful product. It's like 720p, but it looks worse, and on mobile it's awful. Fubo sucks, honestly.
And yeah, I mean, I've never used it, so I don't know, but
it sucks.
So you have that, and I mean, the Blazers could have done any number of things. We've seen 2 teams now this past offseason, Utah and Phoenix, do some sort of streaming service for their fans. And the thing is, people say, well, it's Root Sports or whatever. Okay, well, Root Sports, part of it is they raised their thing and it got put on a higher premium channel subscription with Xfinity Comcast this past off season. So
I think that's the biggest reason, by the way.
Some people lost viewership there.
Yeah.
But like the Blazers, when they sign these deals, could make them put their products on a better streaming service, or could say, hey, if you don't get Root Sports on YouTube TV or whatever, like we're going to be able to offer a side streaming service from us or some sort of pay-per-view for games or something. Not that people would pay for this product probably, but there's got to be some other way they can handle this. And you'll hear that, well, Root Sports was their only option. They had no one else. And it's fine. It's like they could have dictated the terms of that agreement a little better. And it just doesn't seem like they cared. They cared about having more TVs in Alaska and Idaho and stuff that can watch the Blazers than people in Portland. And it's one thing to mess up or like have that be like, if this was a one-time thing and the Root Sports deal was the best deal they could get and that's what they had to go with. But when you combine it with the fact that, like I said, they've been doing this for previous contracts on TV stuff, it just, I don't buy that there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you have the price of Root Sports go up, basically, for the Xfinity package, right? They bump the Root Sports channel to the more expensive Xfinity package before the season, and the timing of it was pretty bad, too. And I feel like a lot of people just weren't willing to pay the price to watch what was expected to be a bad team. You know, a lot of these things kind of go hand in hand with each other, but it's getting harder to watch a team that's not as much fun to watch, and the franchise player is gone. Like, it's just a really bad combination for viewership, but it does trickle down, as you said, from ownership seemingly not caring enough about the fan. Like, you look at Matt Ishbia goes into Phoenix, and what does he do? He tries to make their games available to every fan as easily as possible, right? Both financially and in terms of how you can view games. Root Sports is the opposite. It's expensive on Xfinity. It's not on YouTube TV. The only streaming platform that I'm aware that it's on is Fubo TV, which is a crappy streaming platform, like just very low quality and way too expensive for the quality of the product. The TV deal is arguably the worst deal in the league, and it gets frustrating year after year after year to hear this organization excuse themselves regarding the TV deal that they signed. Mm-hmm. And on media day at the start of every season, all we hear is excuses, and they're happy with the Root Sports deal, this and that. And it just comes across as very tone deaf. Very tone deaf. And I do think that's part of the problem with ownership, which we're going to talk about in a second. I think that's a part of the problem with the organization right now is they're a little bit tone deaf. I don't know. You have that season ticket representatives telling people in the offseason that Joe Cronin was going to make them forget all about Dame while they were trying to cancel their season tickets. You have this TV deal. I mean, a lot of the press conferences from Joe Cronin, I think, are very contradictory. We've talked about it. Rich on Rip City Retro has done whole videos on him contradicting himself, and people excuse it by saying, oh, it's just GM speak. It's just PR. I don't think they're too good at PR. I think Cronin does a pretty good job, but from the top down, I mean, optics with this organization aren't good. And it's gotten to the point where there's a divide. Actually, I want to wait to talk about this until we're done kind of assigning blame here, because I want to talk about the divide between media and what people like me and you say, and as well as optics across the league. Because I don't think on the outside looking in, this situation looks good at all with everything that's happened in the past couple of years. If you told other fan bases what our TV deal is, they would laugh at it, at how bad it is. If the whole Damian Lillard situation didn't look good on us. We do not look like a well-ran organization from the outside looking in, despite what local media will tell you. So, yeah, I think the biggest thing, though, is the Root Sports deal being bumped in Xfinity to the higher priced plan. But it's a combination of many, many things that is why this product has gone downhill.
Mm-hmm. And a couple things to branch off from Root Sports is One, I mean, it's very, very simple to find an illegal stream and watch the games that way. So that could be contributing a little bit to um, being such a big number. And it would explain why good teams are also losing viewership a little bit. Um, but the other thing is, I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat this. Root Sports sucks. It's a horrible product. The quality of the whatever the channel itself, the quality, picture quality is terrible.
At least on the streaming app, correct?
Well, I mean, it's not really great on like if you have HD and stuff either on regular cable. Um, there's always technical difficulties, it seems. Um, the This isn't Root Sports, but Blazers Broadcasting, like, I mean, how many plays have, like, scoring plays have we missed this year or not seen what happened because they're doing something else? And, I mean, that's been a problem for years for them. But yeah, the audio's cutting out a lot. The feed cuts out sometimes. And there's not really, I mean, they have the trail and stuff, but there's not really a ton of good like lead up or post game stuff other than just the regular broadcasters talking about the game for a few minutes.
It's kind of half-assed, you know. I miss the days of talking ball.
Yeah, at least there was something that, like, there was a panel that discussed the game or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whether you liked it or not, at least there was more coverage about what happened. And I mean, it may be due to platforms like this, obviously, where, you know, you can get viewership from all over the world versus if you're on like Root Sports, it's a lot harder to see that if you're like overseas or in another market in America. So like there's lots of factors there, but yeah, it's just, I mean, it's just the whole thing is frustrating, man. It's like every part of it. I know, like, for a while, I was having issues. I pay for Xfinity Comcast. I have the upgraded package. I have the app, and I couldn't even watch on the app earlier in the season. It wasn't working. So, like, and then that's been a new thing recently as well. It wasn't there the first year they had it. So it's frustrating, man. It's and it's not just the TV deal. It's just, it seems like this organization. I mean, we've talked about this before, but there were national people saying that this organization cares more about selling tickets and keeping people interested than they do actually winning. And I'm sorry, but you can fudge your way through and get fans that way, but ultimately I don't think that long term is what's best for viewership and stuff. If you're just trying to stay mediocre or do the bare minimum to keep fans interested.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. People want to root for a winner, and it kind of goes to a bigger problem with ownership. Like, of course they would love to win championships, right? And of course they're going to run things like a business, so they're going to want to put people in seats. But there is a balance there between valuing doing what's right and maybe sacrificing in the short term in order to contend in the long term, which there will be business gains with that when that comes. And the biggest thing, my biggest worry with this entire rebuild is them being too short-sighted because they start to not be able to handle the short-term pain that comes with a proper rebuild. And when you see viewership down that much, you know, that makes me wonder if they're going to try and address that by going even harder to try and make a play-in spot next year to try and get back more viewers. But these viewers that would watch the team night in, night out, that have watched the team night in, night out for at least a decade, they've seen a bunch of playoff runs. They don't get excited about a play-in. Like, I don't think many Blazer fans would be excited about being the 10 seed next year and then getting to lose 1 or 2 play-in games and then missing the playoffs and then having the 13th or 14th pick. That doesn't excite me. That doesn't excite other people. Sure, you could be playing meaningful games in March and April, which would put butts in seats and maybe get some viewership. But man, these fans that stuck through it season after season after season saw playoff appearance after playoff appearance after a playoff appearance. A play-in is a step down from that. That doesn't excite anybody. Not to the level that a playoff run could go on. It got to the point where we were making so many playoff appearances in a row that it became like, man, I'm tired of, making the playoffs just to lose in the first round. Like, people got sick of just making the playoffs losing in the first round because they wanted to actually go on a playoff run. So you got to build this thing with the goal of getting to the point where you can go on massive playoff runs. And if that takes sacrificing in the short term, you absolutely do it. Because that's what's really going to excite fans. That's really what's going to drive the prices of tickets up in Moda Center, is if they're playing for a 1 seed in March, in April, not playing for a 10th seed, okay? Now, obviously, with a younger team, playing is probably going to be on the trajectory, but the trajectory and the goal needs to be all about contending some point down the line at the expense of the short term. And based on what I've seen, I am not confident that this organization is willing to sacrifice that much more than they already have to maximize their chances of going on playoff runs down the line. And when you start feeling like that, when I start feeling like that, it's like, okay, so what is this pain even for? I'm okay with the pain, Eric, as long as there's enough gain, right? No pain, no gain, right? I'm not cool with the pain of the past 3 years if it doesn't result in us getting into contention someday. So I think part of it is, is this team on the right direction? Does this team actually prioritize becoming a contender down the line? Because then it's a lot easier to buy into these games when they're losing a bunch, because you have faith in, these games will help develop players and they're going to do what's best to try and get them to contention. When you have that question in your head, though, it becomes, in my opinion, exponentially harder to sit through a game where they're down 20 at the end of the first half against a much better team, especially a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are somehow at the top of the West right now. So that's how I feel. Chat, let me know how much of that you relate to.
Well, and two, okay, viewership's down, so it's down anyway. Why are you trying to salvage it? Just own it, right? That's all I wanted. And then you hear Joe Cronin say, we're not willing to take a step backward. What the F are you talking about, dude? You literally traded a top 75 player.
Yeah.
How are you not willing to take a step back? That is the definition of taking a step back, dude. And so when you hear that crap, this BS from this front office, and Jody doesn't talk, so all we have is Cronin to go by, and occasionally Hakens will speak at a media day or something. But other than that, that's the only thing we have to go on. So Cronin's basically the face of this franchise right now from a front office standpoint, and every word out of his mouth is a proven lie. It's complete crap. And even if it's GM speak, it's still crap. And as a fan, I just want to be real. Just say, hey, we made a tough decision to move on from Dame. It's going to suck for a while. We're trying our best. We want this to be eventually built into a championship winner, and just do that. But when you try to say we're trying to be competitive and we're happy with where we're at, you think your fans want to hear that you're happy? That we're 15 and 39 or whatever we were at the time. How
are you happy with where you're at? There's a difference between being happy in the direction you're going and being happy with where you're at.
Right.
There is no way, rhyme or reason, that you should be saying we're happy with where we're at with this record.
Right. It's one thing to say, hey, we're not there where we want to be, standings wise or performance wise, but we feel like we have the start of something that we can be happy about moving forward. That's fine.
And see, that's why I don't buy the GM speak excuse, because that's still GM speak, But nobody would have had a problem with that, and that would have summarized the situation much better for the people that are feeling optimistic right now, as if we're happy with the direction we're going, we're not happy with where we're at. Just simply saying we're happy with where we're at is ludicrous and can't be excused with just GM speak to me.
Yeah. So it's like they can't just admit that they're doing, like you said, it's one thing if you feel like the organization's bought into what you're going through and they're going through it too, but it's like they don't want to go through it. It's like, but
they won't even say the word rebuild.
I know.
They won't even say that word.
And
so I think that's part of this, Eric, is people don't have faith that this organization has direction because of stuff like this.
Right, and then they convince half the fan base that, oh, it's a good thing that we're keeping Malcolm Brogdon and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so now it's like, oh, well, he's going to help us win next year, and we're going to sign an extension and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's just, it's like they think that people are mad because they're bad or whatever, and they want to be good as fast as possible. And I don't know many examples of teams that didn't, or like skip steps and then ended up being good. Like a lot of teams, I think, just chop off their ceiling when or lower it significantly when they do stuff like that. And that's the frustrating part. This has a chance when you draft a Scoot Henderson, when you have a Shaden Sharp, when you have all these picks moving forward and potentially another top 5 pick this year. There's a couple of really good drafts coming up that I don't want to be in that 13 to 15 range that you were just talking about. And so, like, there's a lot of exciting things that could happen to lead to contention in a few years. And there's no right or wrong way to rebuild or whatever. Like, there's examples of any kind of rebuild working or not working. It's just frustrating to me that it seems like the goalposts are always changing with them, and they always seem to be like trying to do this thing where they're kind of half in each of these steps and half out of it, and just kind of dipping their toe in the water. Like, well, let's test this out. And then, but they're never just jumping in the pool. And I just want them to jump in the pool, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. This may not be the most humble thing to say. Okay, fair warning. This may not be the most humble thing to say, but
you're gonna get killed.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, maybe. Maybe. Chat will have to let me know if they think I'm gonna get killed for this comment. But I truly believe this. Okay. I truly believe this organization would be noticeably better with optics towards the side of the fan base that criticizes them if they would just listen to our show. You know? Like, there's just so many spots where they go wrong and we criticize them for it, and if they actually took that criticism as constructive, they could actually improve.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my belief. I don't know.
If they watched it in a way where they're thinking of it as constructive criticism and not just like, oh, these guys just hate us.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is this is a question for chat. How do you think this organization's front office and ownership group handles criticism? Do they handle it in a way where they're willing to listen to it as feedback to improve? Or do you think they listen to it, like Eric said, where it's like, oh, these guys just say this is ridiculous, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Because even if they feel like, oh, this large section of the fan base is misinformed, guess what? That's still your fan base, okay? That is still your fan base, no matter if you think they're misinformed or not, or if they're onto your whole shtick, right? Regardless of what you feel about them, that's a big section of your fan base. That section still matters to your bottom line. That section still matters to the organization. So even if you disagree with the reasoning as to why they feel that way, it should still matter to you to the point where you should be able to try and find a way to handle things better based on the criticism that's being given to you. And I don't know how they handle this internally, but I believe that they don't handle it too well.
It's hard, based on everything they've done so far, it's hard to think that they would handle anything well. Yeah, it's weird, man. I want so badly to have a plan, stick to it. And I mean, you can pivot off it if things change. I mean, if knock on wood, like Scoot ends up not being good or something, like you can't just then still have your whole rebuild around Scoot or whatever. But like stuff like that is different. Like it would play out over years. Like I don't understand what their thinking is, because I mean, I got to be honest. Malcolm Brogdon is a great player, great person, all that kind of stuff. Sounds like he's a great locker room guy, great mentor. Is anyone tuning into Blazer games to watch Malcolm Brogdon play over Scoot Henderson? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that was the case earlier in the season when Scoot came back from injury and stuff. And I don't get the mindset. Like, what are they thinking? Like, they think just being like around 500 eventually in a year or two is better than like us getting to watch these young guys play and all that kind of stuff. Like, I would be much more entertained just simply watching all the young players play right now. And I think more people would tune in to watch them. And it'd be fun by now because you'd be seeing growth and development and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Along with viewership, attendance is down. I don't remember attendance being down this much during Brandon Roy's rookie year. I don't remember attendance being down this much during his second year, even though Odin was out. Like, in that, they were in rebuild mode. Yes, attendance wasn't up, but I was young at the time, but I don't remember attendance being this bad.
The years leading up to Roy,
yes, the end of the Jailblazers era was bad.
Yeah, you had a lot of fans check out because of that.
But they draft Aldridge, they draft Roy, right? They have two young rookies, like they're in rebuild mode. They're like the year they drafted Roy and Aldridge, they were kind of in a similar position to where the Blazers are now. It would be interesting to see the attendance numbers in that year versus this year. Chat, if somebody can figure it out, I'd be very curious, because as far as attendance goes, people will just say, it's because they're bad, obviously. That's why people aren't showing up to games, right? You don't have the broadcast element as a part of that because it's in-person attendance. But I'd be very, very curious to see the difference in attendance between those 2 years, because I feel like a lot of things are similar.
So 06-07, I have it right here. Blazers were 22nd in attendance. How many by people? Pure number. 16,360 average.
Okay.
Per game, 81.9% capacity.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get this year's. Yeah, this has like every year on it. This year, they have more fans at games this year. 18,354.
I feel really.
Yeah.
That's like 90% capacity. It feels much empty.
I mean, we'll see when the.
True.
But this is also a thing that's really crappy. Last year they had 96.3% capacity is what this says.
I don't know if I believe.
I mean, that's paid attendance, not actual attendance, most likely. So, I'm just going on what the NBA's official numbers are.
Yeah,
but
I mean, that's what the number says, but it just seems emptier.
Here's the thing. Okay. My mom pays a certain price for like season tickets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every game, home game this year, I've had someone say, I got 100 level or 200 level tickets for this price. Cheaper than my mom's season tickets up in the 300 level, right?
Yeah.
every single game this year except for the Dame game, obviously. So that means that season ticket holders are getting screwed. So once again, and they weren't allowed to get out of their contracts or whatever for season tickets. So that's partly why attendance numbers look good. But
they're going to take a hit on that this upcoming summer.
Yeah, I believe.
Because why pay that much for 300 level tickets if you can get cheaper deal on 100 level tickets?
Mm-hmm.
When the team's going to suck.
Well, the only reason is to like keep your thing moving forward, because if they're ever good again or get new ownership or something, you'll want to keep your season tickets. But the fact that they're not giving any kind of breaks to season ticket holders, despite ticket prices on the secondary market being in the garbage. I mean, I know that's not how business works, but once again, if you're care at all about your fans' experience and long-term keeping a lot of season ticket holders. Tori, my mom's retired. She's in her 70s. She doesn't do anything like other than like she hangs out with my kids, her grandkids, and she loves family and her friends and stuff and going to Blazer games. That's like what she looks forward to the most in her life is going to Blazer games. And my mom, they had the season ticket renewal thing, and my mom was like 50-50 whether she wanted to even have season tickets next year. Mm-hmm. And it's just that's sad to me, right? Like, and I know it's just one person, and it's not necessarily the case for everyone, but
I hear it all the time for people.
Yeah, but it's
that they've canceled season tickets or that they want to.
Like my mom bases her entire life around going to these 40+ Blazer games a year, and she tries not to miss any of them. I mean, occasionally, something happens or whatever, but like, even she was like, why would I want to go next year? Like, I don't even know if I want to. Like, and that's really sad to me.
Yeah, and I just, the problems can't be brushed away with like, oh, it's just because the team is bad. It's the feeling of a lack of direction. It's the feeling of this ownership group doesn't want to truly contend compared to just getting back on track in terms of being able to sell more tickets, being able to get more viewership, right? Like, it's the awful TV. It's just a combination of many different things regarding this organization that have people feeling completely disenfranchised. And I don't expect people that don't talk to a lot of fans that feel this way to truly understand why. And I had a conversation today on Twitter with Travis Demers. And if you don't know Travis Demers, he is the voice of Blazers radio. He does play-by-play for the radio station. He did some TV games when Kevin Calabro was out. So I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, know him. But he had a tweet. None of this is personal against Travis. Okay? I just want to start off by saying this. I'm going to bring up our conversation and bring up why I disagree with him. Okay? He had a tweet in response to... Okay, so let me just start it off with this. Sports Business Radio had a tweet that said, this is one of the several reasons why apathy and irrelevance has set in with many people in Portland. Most people want the Trail Blazers to be sold to an ownership group who will inject much-needed life into the organization. And Travis Demers quote tweeted that and said, I've seen this take a lot. However, I haven't seen one viable or realistic example of what that looks like. And then he had another response that said, what exactly is a different ownership group going to do? I quote tweeted that. I said, hopefully a whole lot. Hopefully a whole lot. And he said, and I know where this is going. Okay. I list off reasons why I'm, disenfranchised with ownership, why I don't like ownership. And then it's a bunch of like, you're misinformed. And that's how this conversation goes. I've had this conversation numerous times. I know how this game is played by people that are close to an organization or that are in media that talk to Joe Cronin, okay? It basically ends up with, you're misinformed. Go ahead, Eric.
And it's not just Travis. It's multiple Blazer media people with the same exact talking points.
Yeah, it's the whole shtick.
Exact thing.
It's the game.
It's like, it's definitely a company line.
Yeah. So when he asked,
Which is why he is a company person. He has to do it.
yeah, this is why it's not personal. But yeah, I said hopefully the new ownership group would change a whole lot. He's like, he says, and I knew where this is going. I said, list everything you think this ownership group has done wrong, and my answer will be, do those things better. And he said, give me one specific example, or two, or three. And I said, I can give you many examples that I'd never expect us to agree on. I'm more interested in hearing what you think they've done wrong. I want to hear what he thinks they've done wrong. Unless he thinks they've done everything perfectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that isn't going to happen. So he responds to that and says, I'm not the one saying ownership needs to do a whole lot different. You are, and you say it a lot, yet you don't give realistic reasons as to what should or would change. I said, yeah, and I give reasons and examples a lot too, but fine. Here are my hopes from a different ownership group, okay, guys? And here is my list, okay? Get Blazer fans a better TV deal than the mess they have right now, okay? Number 2, care more about winning at the highest level versus simply putting butts in seats and selling tickets. And I also included the note to Travis that says, and if you want to say that they do care about winning at the highest level versus, profits, then they don't appear like that, and that's their fault, okay? So even if you think I'm misinformed, this is what I said, but basically my whole point is, if you think I'm misinformed in terms of the intentions of the front office, you can't really blame me, because that's what they've portrayed to me. That's what their actions have said to me. So I went on with this list. I said, have more willingness to pay the tax when trying to win. Okay. Number 4, conduct a real interview process for general manager instead of hiring an in-house guy with no experience without any search conducted. Number 5, allow season ticket holders to cancel after they choose a completely different direction. And number 6, don't force a nonsense trade days before the deadline to duck the tax, referencing the Norman Powell trade, and have a hands-off approach to roster construction. Okay, that last one, maybe you can say I'm misinformed, this or that, right? That one's subjective and debatable. The first 5, I don't think were. I tried to come up with things that were hard to sit here and say that you're misinformed, okay? But guess what the response was from Travis? This is how this always goes. Said, I understand your points. Most of it is just a difference in philosophy. That doesn't mean ownership is bad and doesn't care. I don't need to go line by line on every one of your points unless you really want me to, but you're truly misinformed about some of that. We can agree to disagree on some things, and we certainly do. Okay? Knew that's where it was going. Okay? And I said, what am I misinformed about? 3 of them are based on factual things or stuff I've directly talked to people about, which is the TV deal sucks, they didn't conduct an interview process for Joe Cronin, and season ticket holders couldn't cancel their season tickets this past offseason. Okay? How am I misinformed about any of that? That's 3 of my 6 reasons. All that stuff is factual stuff. Okay? I said 2 of them are interpretations of the actions that they've taken over multiple years, and that's their unwillingness to pay the tax and how willing they are to commit to building a winner. I said many people agree with that, and if those interpretations of ownership are incorrect, then it's not due to any misinformation, because actions speak louder than words, and they have yet to show us otherwise with any of their actions. So even if their words are, yeah, we're willing to pay the tax, yes, we really, really want to win, their actions don't back that up, and that's what me and a lot of other fans are interpreting. Okay? I said the last one is debatable, but I tried to avoid debatable or subjective things that many other people would hold against ownership, because there is a longer list of things that, the whole how they handled the Dame saga and this and that we could sit here and debate as to what information is correct or this or that. But I was actively trying to avoid him being able to say, you're misinformed. Which is funny because he still said, you're misinformed, even though it didn't really apply to anything I was talking about. Okay? I said there are legitimate gripes with ownership that I'd expect the organization would downplay. They've done it already with the TV deal. And he had another tweet somewhere that basically said he didn't expect me to be informed as a fan. And so I added on. I said, just like you don't expect me to be informed as a fan, I don't expect anyone too close to the organization to be fully impartial. He, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, it's too close to the organization to be fully impartial. I don't hold that against him, but it is what it is. Okay? I don't think there's any one person you can go to that talks about the Blazers where you can get the full picture. We try our best to give you the full picture. Okay? That's why we have a platform. I don't believe that media that talks constantly with Joe Cronin and have credentials are going to be fully impartial when it comes to praising or critiquing Joe Cronin. Okay? I don't think somebody that's the radio voice of the Portland Trailblazers is going to be fully impartial when it comes to praising or critiquing the organization and ownership. That's how I feel. So, anyway. And no response to that, but that was our conversation.
And, okay, going back to that Norm Rocco trade, okay? You had to clean up the books for the following season, right? Or like clear up Olshay's mess, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Then why did you have to trade Josh Hart last year? Right? Like, you weren't willing to pay him, right? Okay, so why?
And or he was going to leave even if you paid him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. But I mean, that's also weird that he wouldn't have found a home here, like when we were a team that could pay him the most, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there's something about like his wife didn't want him to play her. But here's my thing is, it probably would have been better if you were truly trying to keep Dame and show Dame you wanted to keep him. It probably would have been better to just take the risk of trying to keep Josh Hart compared to trading him for a late first-round pick and then drafting somebody with that late first-round pick who can't even get in the regular rotation on a team that sucks.
Yeah. Let me be clear about something. Josh Hart, all those comments were after he was traded to New York. He said his wife wanted to be somewhere and not get traded and move around. He wanted to be somewhere where he could be long-term. He said the same exact stuff about Portland when he came to Portland. You can look it up. He said that he's just looking for a place he can stay long-term and not have to get traded all the time. And then we freaking traded him. But like he never said he wasn't going to re-sign with us or whatever. Like, I mean, he had nothing but great things to say about Portland after he was traded and things like that. But the thing is, okay, you trade him, right? Do you get any win now players? Like, do you do anything to try and set yourself up for the following season? No. In fact, all the trades they made, they cut salary so they could duck the tax again this summer. And then you have to hear all this stuff like, well, Jody's willing to pay the tax if she needs to. All her moves have been exactly the same as someone who is not willing to pay the tax. It's always cut salary for the following season. So even if you had to trade Josh Hart, you could have traded him for more proven players or something. You could have used that draft pick you got in the trade, but no, you kept that as well.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's very clear they have set themselves up every season. And you can go back and listen to Joe. He's like, we made these trades like, well, the Norm Rocco CJ deadline. We made these trades to avoid the repeater tax in future years that will now not be an issue. And then the next year he's like, you hear all this repeater tax. And then from there, like, we hard cap ourselves so we don't have to make that decision to trade for someone or not. And then, we dump a player at the deadline, and then we're talking about all these trades we're going to make in the offseason with no contracts because everyone's a free agent that was tradable or that wouldn't be like a significant loss to the team. So they keep setting it up over and over again to duck the tax, not only the season they're currently in, but the following season. And it's exactly why they didn't make a big move right now. But Joe has made it very difficult this summer. And if Jody proves a point that she's willing to pay the tax this summer, it's completely backwards, right? I know.
Yeah, I mean, but if she does, she does. But
I'm just saying, like, that's not necessarily proving that she's a good owner if she's willing to pay the tax. It just proves that this team has no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. What she does in the summer is what she does in the summer. Unfortunately, it's what she's done and what this organization has done in the past. Everything has been ducking the tax. Everything has been trying to clear the books. They trade Josh Hart for a player they let walk in the offseason and a first-round pick, right? It's like, okay, well, you're just trying to save money. You can say you're trying to build around Dame, win around Dame, but when you trade Josh Hart for basically a late first-round pick, that's not congruent with trying to win around Dame. And that's the problem, is when you look at their moves over Joe Cronin's tenure especially, they aren't cohesive with having a bigger plan. The only move that was cohesive with another move was getting a trade exception big enough in the CJ McCollum deal to absorb Jeremy Grant's contract when the Blazers traded for him without having to send back matching salary, okay? And I'll sit here and praise the fact that he got that trade exception to get Jeremy Grant in that trade without sending salary back, because that helped them in that deal, right? But that's the only two moves that I can think of where one was setting up another. Everything else is just kind of randomly thrown together. Okay? We're going to sign GP2, hard cap ourselves, and then that's going to be a disaster. We're going to trade him for seconds. Okay? But we're going to replace him by trading some seconds for Matisse Thybulle. And then
seconds are the new currency, Tori.
Yeah. But then we're going to trade Josh Hart for Cam Reddish, bring in Cam Reddish, hype him up. Then we're going to let him walk. But we're going to say we're just trying to position ourselves to make a big trade in the offseason, but then we don't have contracts to trade. And then we keep the third pick and do literally nothing via trade or the first day of free agency. And then we're going to act shocked when Dame wants to walk, right? Like, that's the problem, is none of it's cohesive. And I think a lot of that blame falls upon Joe Cronin, but also that's why people wonder if they are truly committed to building a contender, because it doesn't seem like they have a plan to. It doesn't feel like they have a plan to. It feels like, yeah, we're just going to try and figure things out as we go along. We're going to make it up as we go. Okay? And that's the whole problem with the Malcolm Brogdon thing, and that's why they got criticism. And, we debated about all the narratives around that situation. But regardless, you have three young guards, and you're bringing Malcolm Brogdon into the offseason. So that's the problem, is a lack of a cohesive plan. And that's why people feel the way they do. But as I said, I don't expect, and this isn't a shot, I don't expect the radio voice of the Blazers to criticize ownership. I have a problem when he's very, very vocal all over the place about people being misinformed if they don't kiss the organization's ass. If they don't agree with everything he has to say. They're then therefore misinformed. Even though, and that's why that tweet, that list of 6 things that I gave Eric, the first 5 were reasons that I thought it would be ridiculous to say. It's based off misinformation, because 3 of them are factual and 2 of them are interpretations of actions, and actions speak louder than words. Who cares what they say? Who cares if ownership says, yeah, we're willing to pay the tax, then when they duck the tax year after year after year, guess what I'm going to believe? That's not being misinformed. That's just taking their actions at face value compared to just listening to whatever BS they say. So I'm done buying that they're going to pay the tax and this and that. Because actions speak louder than words. So those 5 things, saying I'm misinformed for those first 5 things, I think is absolutely ridiculous and does not apply. But I wanted to prove a point. I wanted to prove the point, because I went into that conversation thinking he's just going to say I'm misinformed. And he's just going to say at some point, like, I'm just a fan. He did both.
Yep.
It's the thing is, I know the game so well, Eric. I will literally go into a conversation with everything planned out as to how I'm going to say things for that reason, because I know where it's going.
Points, you know what the answer is going to be.
Yes,
because you know the talking points.
Exactly.
See, for me, this isn't something I could ever argue with someone like Travis about, because he's just going to say I'm stupid and misinformed and ruin my credibility, or try to ruin it like he did before.
I mean, I don't. Yeah,
but
he did say some things on Reddit, but yeah, I don't want to go too much into that.
Yeah, but anyways, I believe that the Blazers' plan was to try and keep Dame happy as long as possible, because he did sell tickets and he was a draw. And it worked. So like the Jeremy Grant thing was just enough to keep Dame here another year, and if he was worried about stuff, and yeah. But to me, their whole plan revolved around getting the fans to hopefully feel sympathy for them because Dame asked out. Mm-hmm. And it kind of worked with some of the fans. Like a lot of them turned on Dame, and that's fine if you want to do that. And some of them, saw through their BS or whatever. But for me, it all comes back to that with my feelings is that they cared more about their look to the fan base throughout this whole Dame situation than they did actually building a good team post-Dame.
Yep. 100%. We can go back to this conversation, but first I gotta thank the sponsor for this edition of Blazers Uprise Live, and that is BetUS. Shout out to BetUS. You can get 3 125% deposit matches on your first 3 deposits of at least $100 by using the promo code JOIN125 in our link at the top of the description box below. They got 24-hour payouts, 24/7 live support. And I wanted to take a look at something that is not fully up to date yet because Jacques Vaughn got fired today. He was a plus 450 to be the next head coach fired. So this will have to update. But Eric, I wanted to take a look at this because this is the odd lines for the next NBA head coach fired. And you know who the favorite on BetUS is right now.
Chauncey
Billups at plus 200.
Possible soon to be Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups.
Yeah. I would not take Chauncey over Darvin Ham if the Lakers struggle. LeBron's fired coaches, although I don't think Darvin Ham's a great bet. Steve Clifford, plus 250. Hornets are starting to play better, though. I don't think another coach gets fired this regular season, but I just thought it was interesting that Chauncey Billups was the favorite here. I think Billy Donovan isn't a bad bet at plus 2,500. The Bulls seem directionless, and they may try and make a statement that, we're willing to do something, and that something might be firing Billy Donovan. Plus 2,500 odds, actually. If I was going to bet on any one of these coaches, Eric, given their odd line, it'd be Billy Donovan. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I like that one. I have no idea why Taylor Jenkins is on there. That's dumb.
Yeah.
But and Montes makes way too much money to get fired in his first year of his huge contract. So that would be wasting money.
Yeah. That's the thing is you can make educated decisions on this based off things like, they're not going to eat 6 years of a contract there in Detroit. They probably would have already done it during that giant losing streak. So, but yeah, Billy Donovan would be my pick. Plus 2,500. That's insane odds. But Eric, if the people bet on Dame to win the 3-point contest and All-Star MVP, they are extremely rich right now.
Nice.
Because I believe he was plus 450 on both, or maybe even longer odds on All-Star MVP. I think he was maybe plus 600.
I mean, we both thought he had a good chance at both of them. But yeah, shout out to you if you actually bet it.
Yeah, shout out to you guys if you got in on BetUS with Damian Lillard. And then I want to take a look at award favorites because we haven't done that in a while. It's always interesting to see. Nikola Vucevic. Nikola Jokic is the heavy favorite.
Vucevic is not the heavy favorite for MVP. Sorry.
Oh, man. Nikola Jokic. There's a lot of Nikolas in the league now. He is by far the favorite for MVP, minus 150 right now. Joel Embiid isn't going to play enough games. The next guy is SGA, but it's going to be hard for SGA to beat out Jokic. Jokic, minus 150. So to win $100, you have to bet $150. So they think it's likely that Nikola Jokic is MVP. Rookie of the Year right now, Victor Wembanyama, minus 600. Chet Holmgren, plus 450. Do you think the Rookie of the Year race is over?
I don't think it's over. I felt this way all year. I just feel like Wembanyama's got way too much hype to lose it, I guess, unless something happens or he doesn't play much the rest of the season or something. I don't know. But I find it hard to believe he loses it, but I mean, both players are amazing.
Does he have to play 65 games? Does that apply to Rookie of the Year?
I think rookies is the only one it doesn't apply to because it's possible as a rookie you don't get into games. So I think they made Rookie of the Year not contingent on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if that mattered for Rookie of the Year, Wemby's played 49 games, Chet's played 54. So 49 games, they have about 28 left. Like, Wemby's going to be close to that 65-game number. But yeah, I don't think it applies. Most improved player right now, Eric, number one guy is Tyrese Maxey. And it's always hard to predict Rookie of the Year before the season. Tyrese Maxey is a guy I've always liked, though, and with the James Harden saga being the way it was, like I don't think I picked Tyrese Maxey. I don't think any of us picked Tyrese Maxey before the season, but with him becoming the lead guard, minus 225 for him, so that's heavy favorite right now. I feel like the awards are kind of wrapped up. The next guy is actually Kobe White, who I think is a good candidate for it, especially considering this is, year 5 for him, or year 6, whatever it is, because he took a jump this year. Jonathan Kuminga, I think his odds are rising as he continues to play well. But Tyrese Maxey's the favorite there. Sixth man of the year, no problem. Yeah. Go ahead. You want to talk about most improved?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Jalen Johnson's being snubbed here by BetUS. I think he should definitely be on there. I don't think he's going to win, but definitely think he should be on there instead of Cam Thomas.
Yeah.
I mean, Şengün's had a great year. Kuminga's obviously coming on strong. If he finishes the rest of the year like he's been playing the last few weeks, I mean, maybe he shoots up there. But, yeah, I think this is Maxey's to lose.
Yep. Sixth man of the year, minus 110 from Malik Monk, plus 165 for Tim Hardaway Jr. Those are the two favorites. The next guy is Norman Powell. Norman Powell at plus 800. So you got some names tossed in here, but Tim Hardaway Jr. versus Malik Monk. Malik Monk's been really good off the bench this year.
Hardaway's been good too. But Monk was my pick, so I'm hoping he wins.
And then Coach of the Year, the favorite right now, plus 200 odds from Mark Daigneault of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I actually really like that. It's him or Chris Finch. JB Bickerstaff is plus 400. Tyronn Lue is plus 500. But it's hard to see, Cleveland. They were in the playoffs last year, right? Mm-hmm. Normally, Coach of the Year comes from a team that exceeds expectations. In Cleveland, given that they were a playoff team last year, I know they've had some injuries, but I think it'll be hard for him or Tyronn Lue, given the talent on his team, to win it. I think it comes down to Daigneault versus Chris Finch, and they got pretty even odds. Do you think there should be a favor between the two right now, or do you think it's an even race right now?
I think it's pretty even. I think maybe it just comes down to which team finishes higher.
Yeah. Yeah, so Chris Finch plus 225, Mark Daigneault plus 200. I mean, you can get pretty good odds with that, considering I think it's 50-50 if you use that 125% deposit match, one of the three. And then Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, heavy favorite, minus 650. It's cool to see two rookies on this top 6, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Clutch Player of the Year, no Anthony Simons. Is there the minimum game requirement for that award?
I don't know.
Probably have to be on a winning team, too. But Ant's been pretty clutch this year. But probably hasn't. I mean, Zach LaVine's on here, and he's missed a ton of games. So Damian Lillard plus 450. The favorite right now is Steph Curry minus 150. He's had multiple big-time clutch moments, so I have no problem with him being the favorite there. Mm-hmm. But if you guys want to get in on any of this action, make sure you use the link at the top of the description box below. Promo code JOIN125 for 3 deposit bonuses of 125%. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this edition of Blazers Uprise Live. Let's end this poll. Let's see what they voted. This poll has actually been going back and forth all stream, Eric.
Nice.
First it was Dame being gone. I think first it was the team sucks. Then it was Dame being gone. Then it's Root Sports. Okay, Root Sports is the favorite at the end. 222 votes. Shout out to you guys for participating in the poll. Appreciate y'all. 32% say Root Sports, the TV deal, is the biggest reason why viewership is down so much. 27% say Damian Lillard being gone. 22% said the team sucking, rebuilding, and then 17% say ownership. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about, just with the state of this team, the direction of this team, the ownership? I did not mean to change to our picks against the spread standings. Is there anything else you want to talk about with ownership, Eric?
Well, first, thank you to everyone who voted. That's awesome. 224 votes, more than us watching right now. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. That's why it's so divided, right?
Yeah, like they all kind of flow into each other, and it's a combination of everything. I just wanted to see what you guys would pick, what you guys blame the most. I was just curious. See, and I like knowing what our section of the fan base, is it a section, or is it just, I don't know what to call it, but I always like hearing what people think. That's why I enjoy having the live chat. That's why I enjoy doing chat polls. I truly value what you guys have to say, and I'm always curious as to how you guys respond to these polls.
And I lost my train of thought, but just
anything else on ownership and that whole thing.
I think it's a little bit of the media is making it worse for ownership, even though they're trying to do what's right.
Yeah.
But last year, remember how pumped we were about lottery odds?
Yeah.
And it was all like, what if we get Wembanyama, right?
Yeah. That stream was insane.
Yeah.
We had like 2,500 concurrent viewers.
It was so fun, man. And just like getting together with people and meeting a bunch of you and hanging out and watching that stream. I know we were streaming, so we couldn't talk as much as we wanted to, but like it was an awesome experience for our community and for Blazer fans and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then, but like this year, okay, we're right back in there. We have a high pick, and yeah, there's no Wembanyama. But what are we hearing from Blazer media all before the trade deadline? Oh, this draft sucks. This draft sucks.
Yep.
Well, when you keep hearing that and you're crappy, like, yeah, people aren't going to be as vested in it, right? Like,
yeah.
Like there's no prize or whatever. Well, I mean, Tori and I will tell you differently. Like, we think there are prizes in this draft, and this absolutely could change our ceiling if that happens. So, like, they're trying to downplay Cronin not making a move because the drafts and picks in this draft suck. But like, it's kind of like hurting. Like, it's like, well, we suck and the draft sucks, so like this doubly sucks, right? and I think a lot of fans are thinking that way. And so to me, I'm fine with sucking multiple years because I know the prizes the next couple years are better than this year. But I don't know. I think people are starting to really pick holes and downplay Alex Sarr. You see him grab a rebound or block a shot like the other day with Joe Cronin and Mike Schmitz in attendance, by the way. He has a block shot, gets the ball off the backboard, dribbles down like he's a freaking guard and throws a pass for an assist. And it's just like big men who are that fluid, that good on defense and can handle the ball like that and set up your fast break. I don't know how that could be a bust or an offensive liability or like all these things people are starting to say about Sarr. I don't know, man. I think he's clearly a game changer. He's not necessarily Wemby or Chet, but he's a game changer.
Who's saying this stuff?
Oh, I see all the time that he's an offensive liability. It's because his shooting splits are bad. So like,
yeah, but who is it? Blazer fans? Is it who's?
Oh no, it's like national people and stuff like that, and some Blazer fans. But yeah,
I mean, you know what? It can't be as bad as the Chet dialogue.
Oh, it's definitely not bad. Yeah, it's not.
And
that bad.
look at freaking Chet, man. God, dude. Okay, I'm trying not to get mad, but Tori, you're just biased if you think he's going to be anything in the league. He's too frail. He's blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to talk about some of the narratives with him. I mean, we got to stop overthinking guys in terms of draft prospects. People overthought Chet based on, like, fine, I'll say it. You know, there was people that said, white American-born bigs don't do too well in the league based on history. And it's like, what? Should never, ever, ever base a prospect based on his appearance. Never. Okay? You can base him off of, you know, if he's 50 pounds overweight, sure. I understand people maybe being worried because he's skinny, but white, there's a whole white American-born big argument. Like, really? That's what we're doing? So that was ridiculous. And it's the NBA. Like, you're not going against Shaq. You're not going against Shaq. And you know what's funny is, like, you got guys like Jokic who are bigger, right, Embiid, but I'd trust Chet or Wemby against them as much as a bunch of other starting centers, you know? So, in regards to Alex Sarr, he's kind of the next big in this mold. I don't think he's as good of a prospect as either of those guys, but in this draft, dude, the Blazers should be in love with him, man. Because if you get to start him next to DeAndre Ayton with Jeremy Grant at the 3, like, that's intriguing. That's intriguing. I'm not a big advocate of Jeremy Grant at the 3, but if it's to start 2 legitimate 7-footers, one that can protect the rim, you do it. And you hope that Sarr can develop that 3-point shot. I mean, the best answer, if he doesn't, is probably just going to be to play him at center. And move off Ayton and figure out something else at a forward spot, but you have, like, potentially a guy that could win Defensive Player of the Years at the center spot that can also handle the ball. Like, why wouldn't you want that? So, the draft talk, there is a lot of solid players in this draft. It's not as top-heavy, okay? But with the Warriors pick, the Blazers have a chance of getting somebody legitimately impactful. And I don't know. It's funny to hear a lot of the people that hyped up the Mike Schmitz acquisition sitting here saying, well, the draft sucks. I thought that's why we got Mike Schmitz, so he could find the diamonds in the rough in a draft that isn't that good. Or in a draft that is good. I mean, don't we have faith in Mike Schmitz to be able to figure it out in any draft? Isn't that what we were hyping up Joe Cronin for doing, for hiring this man? Where did the faith in him go? I don't understand why the focus is the draft sucks compared to let's have some faith in our scouting department because we have Mike Schmitz, which is what the talking point was when we brought him in.
Yep. Let Schmitz cook, right?
Let Schmitz cook. So, anyway, viewership down. I mean, Eric, this might be weird. It's kind of nice to see that game viewership down is down that much, because there's been times this year where I've just personally myself been a little bit bummed out based on, you know, viewership numbers and stuff. You know, I try not to care about that. I feel like I care about it less than your normal YouTuber, but still, you know, it's good to pull in more viewers on YouTube, obviously. But like, I've sat there after some screens like, man, like nobody tuned in tonight, and then to see that viewership is down 50%. Well, our viewership isn't even down 50%. So actually, our viewership this year has been a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I've actually been pretty proud of, for the third straight year of this crap, like how many people still are tuning in, and so shout out to all of you who are still interested in this community and this show. We appreciate all of you. And Mr. Payan, good old Leo. I saw Leo the other day at Safeway. So
that's random. That's funny.
But he had a member message earlier in the stream. He said it's a mix, but fans are not used to tanking.
Yeah. Yeah. We're getting used to it, though, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, the Blazers have... I mean, if you just look at their franchise, they definitely have more years in the playoffs than not, and not a lot of... I mean, there was a period where we first started the franchise, and then there was the Jailblazer era. But outside of those two, there hasn't been like a huge gap in between playoffs. Like we haven't had like a Kings type gap, you know, and so, or like a Timberwolves type gap. So it's tough as a Blazer fan because you're used to at least being somewhat competitive and somewhat a playoff team. But I just keep thinking back to uh, the years you mentioned earlier in the stream, the '06, '07 years, where those definitely should. I mean, it should have paid off more, but like at the time, we thought it was a huge payoff, and it was exciting to be bad because, that 2007 draft was one of those hype drafts and stuff like that. So, I keep thinking back to that where, yeah, we sucked for a long time, but look what could have been out of that. And so we just need hopefully to do something. I also think there's a weird dynamic because technically we tanked the last 2 years, but like no one thought we were tanking going into the seasons. So it was frustrating because they weren't really tanking seasons. And then at the end of the first one, we get we're never doing this again, promise, and all that. And then they do that exact same thing the next year. And so I feel like some of it is, once again, this organization's own fault for setting that expectation that they're super ridiculously dedicated to winning or whatever, like don't say that crap and then tank. So like, I feel like they've been doing a really bad job of setting expectations. You look at Scoot's expectations. Oh, he's not your average 19-year-old, and now he's a 19-year-old that's going to have growing pains, and every 19-year-old is like this, and it's just, it's funny, man.
At least we won't be talking about Damian Lillard is sitting because of a snow game because he was on the plane too long. Because that's what we were doing, like, kind of this time last year, first game out of the All-Star break, if you guys remember that. So, at least it's we're waiting on the days until we start tanking. I mean, I hope we start tanking on the 25th of February because we play Charlotte, and we're 2 games behind them. Even though one media member would tell you we are locked into our lottery spot with 28 games left. I mean, Eric, I am pulling receipts if we don't have the 5th best odds at the end of the season. I am pulling receipts. I'm just why do we have to be so ridiculous, man? If I said something like that, you know how bad I'd get clowned? But a media guy... Anyway. Freaking... Whoops, I switched to it again. Chat, you guys are still winning picks
really
against the
want
spread.
to see the standings.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to switch this down to All-Star Game. Let's talk about the All-Star Game. So... Chat, what did you enjoy most out of All-Star Weekend? Let me know in the chat. Friday, they have Celebrity Game, and apparently you could bet on like over 100 points for like Micah Parsons and Kai Cenat on something. I forget where it was, but I thought that was kind of funny. But you had Rising Stars. Scoop played. He got eliminated game 1, but he was the leading scorer. He had a really impressive hezzy on Chet, man. I think he carried the hell out of the ball, but they don't call that in the NBA, so we might as well push the edge, push the envelope.
He pushes carrying a lot.
Yeah, he and Anthony Simons do.
Yeah.
But, if we don't get called for it, you might as well, because he got my guy Chet on just nasty hesitation move and then had a super impressive finish on the drive off of it around Walker Kessler. Like, this man getting Chet Holmgren and Walker Kessler on one possession was impressive. Hit a 3. Your dog's impressive. Nice dog. And Rising Stars Challenge, here's the thing. They actually play some defense in the Rising Stars Challenge. I enjoyed the Rising Stars Challenge more than the All-Star Game.
Yeah. Do you think they should go to that format in the All-Star Game? Like, have 4 teams and...
Yes.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. I think they should have 14 All-Stars. You should have 7 players a team. 14 All-Stars per conference, 7 players a team, 4 teams of 7.
Yeah.
Because there were guys this year that should have been in the All-Star Game. Like, you know what I mean? That weren't selected. And there's always injury replacements and this and that, but... And just do it like 2 Western Conference teams, 2 Eastern Conference teams. Have the West teams play each other, have the East teams play each other. and then have the winners play each other.
Mm-hmm.
In the West teams, you can break it up based off like West Coast versus like Mountain Range or whatever. I don't know. You could maybe break it up in a way that makes sense. Or you can do it like the 7 oldest All-Stars versus the 7 youngest All-Stars. Like do something to make it like interesting, to like divvy up the teams in some sort of way, to just create a narrative, and then have the games shorter. Just have it like, have the games be, I don't know, 2 10-minute halves or whatever. Don't play to Elam. I don't like Elam, okay? Just 2 10-minute halves where it's like a short enough game where they might actually play some defense.
I like Elam in the All-Star game.
I
think they made a mistake taking it out of it.
No. I don't think that affected anything, though, you know? Like, there was that one year where, like, the fourth quarter ended in, like, 3 minutes. Because they just made a bunch of threes.
You can...
I think if you're going to have short games, I think it makes sense. The clock at the end, like, I think when the clock winds... I don't know. I like the clock. I hate Elam. Chat, do you guys like Elam in All-Star?
In anything other than All-Star, but...
Yeah.
All-Star game is good.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a... I guess it creates a game-winning shot, but, like... I don't know. I think the game... I think part of the reason I don't like it... The game needs to feel as much like an actual game as an actual NBA game. I know, like, 2 10-minute halves aren't going to feel the same, but, like... You know, it's not the same, but... I don't know. I don't think the scoring necessarily matters for that. I think in terms of the format that I'm talking about, though, 2 10-minute halves or play to an Elam score or whatever you got to do, but just have a short enough game, people might try a little harder. And if you have 7v7 teams, people might try a little bit harder. Especially if it's like the 7 oldest versus the 7 youngest from the West, and then the 7 oldest and 7 youngest from the East, and it's like the current gen versus the next gen. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the young guys would want to take it to the older team, you know what I mean? Prove themselves, even though it's an all-star game. I feel like there's ways they could do it that makes it better. Because the all-star game was a freaking joke. Freaking joke. No team should have 211, bro. I know Dame hit half-court shots. That was awesome. It was awesome to see him win all-star MVP. That dude's insane. But all-star game was a joke. I think they need to change the format.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to not be a joke. Like, it's an exhibition game, so
but if you can make less
it or incentivize stuff.
Yeah, you gotta do something, because right now it's kind of embarrassing.
And then what happens the first time someone gets hurt competing hard? And yeah,
I mean, they used to play hard in the All-Star game back in the day. Did players get hurt?
I mean,
do players get hurt in the Rising Stars game?
Back in my day, no one ever got hurt. They all played 82 games, and no matter what was going on. Yeah,
all right, old head. But, like, they're still probably going to play just as hard in practice, right? Like, so...
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, if that's really the concern, like, yeah, then you shouldn't even have a game. You shouldn't even have a game then, if we're that concerned about it.
Well, I mean, it's just... so we recorded a Hoops Crush today and talked about this a little bit.
Yes.
It'll be out tomorrow at 10 Pacific time. It's already in there. But yeah, it's just... I don't know. I think All-Star Weekend is just be more about having fun and the players and stuff. I don't think you're ever gonna make it serious enough to where it's like, oh my god, this action is awesome.
Then literally don't even have an All-Star game. Like, bring in rookies then. Bring in G League guys. Like, it's just, I don't know. Did anybody enjoy watching the All-Star game? I didn't even watch the All-Star game. I would have if they actually, like, cared.
I mean, I didn't think it was as bad as people said it was, but...
I enjoyed Dame's MVP. Yeah, that's the thing. I enjoyed Dame's MVP. But going back watching the play, I don't know. There was the year like rest in peace Kobe, but the All-Star game after that they played hard. I think part of it was because of Kobe. That was an entertaining All-Star game. They didn't play 100%, but they actually like competed a little bit. So I don't know. The events though, Eric, the 3-point contest was awesome. The Steph versus Sabrina thing was awesome. I think next year they need to expand upon that. Maybe pair up an NBA player with a WNBA player and have like 4 pairings and do like highest total score or something. Because I think it's a great way to highlight the WNBA. Because Sabrina can freaking shoot. She got 26 NBA 3-point line. Like,
why don't they just let the WNBA winner play in the actual 3-point contest?
That'd be pretty cool too.
Because if she got 26 in the contest, she would have been part of the group that made the finals. So that would have been awesome, right? Instead, it's like,
she would have been a part of the tiebreaker because like 4 people had 26. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that too. I just think there's more WNBA players that you can highlight, especially next year when Caitlin Clark is going to be in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got her and Sabrina, Kelsey Plum. Like, I don't know who the best shooters are, but great way to highlight the WNBA. So that part was cool. I thought some of the commentary during this section was kind of appalling. Like, I did not like that at all. Some of the stuff Katie Smith said was just ridiculous, bro. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. She had a rough night.
Just ridiculous. So, like,
yeah,
that part annoyed me. The skills challenge, Anthony Edwards shooting left-handed, you said it, made a mockery out of it. Didn't really like that. But skills challenge is always a nice little warm-up. The dunk contest is a joke, dude. The dunk contest is an absolute joke. That was the worst dunk contest I've ever seen.
They need more people and bigger names.
I feel like the bigger names aren't going to... I don't know. Like, Jaylen Brown was the biggest name. That dude didn't try and do anything.
But that's the problem, though. Like, I made this point, too, on Hoops Crush. But we want big names to do it. We finally get a guy to do it we know he's not the greatest dunker, but, like, we should give him some credit for being one of the only All-Stars to do it recently. And all he did was he got clowned for it.
Yeah,
he's not a good dunker, but he's not a good dunker.
Yeah, but he's better than that. This dude just did a normal dunk. Bro, Eric, this dude just did a normal dunk over a 5'3" guy that wasn't even standing up. He was sitting in a chair.
Yeah,
and had a lob where he just caught it and dunked it, bro. Like,
but like
I've had a better dunk. I've had a better dunk contest dunk than that. I can't dunk anywhere close to Jaylen Brown. Come on, man. Like, he just wanted to show off Jason Tatum's suit coat thing.
But I still think him getting clowned during the competition will make it so, like, other people will be like, oh, why would I want to subject myself to that?
Do better dunks if you're going to be in the dunk contest then.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it if you can't do something better than that because you won't get clowned. And then if you show up, don't get clowned. You won't get clowned if you actually try to do something better than that. Like, that was ridiculous. Part of the reason he got clowned was because they sent his ass to the finals off of garbage dunks. Like, Jacob Toppin's dunks were better. They sent this dude to the finals. Like, the grading was ridiculous. I think that was some of the reason why fans were booing. But, bro, you cannot, as an NBA player, go into a dunk contest and do that. Like, the Rip City 3-on-3 dunk contest had better dunkers than Jason Tatum. Or not Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown. He's better than that, man. Like, bring out a second hoop and have it facing the first. Like, just try something. You know what I mean? Like, get creative. The one thing I loved about JaVale McGee is he would always, like, try and get creative. Right? He had the 2 hoops. Like, I don't think Jaylen Brown could do that. But, like, just try and get creative in a way where you're not just doing a basic dunk over a 5'3" guy sitting down.
Yeah. I don't know. I just the NBA. I don't know. They need to find a way to get it because, like, how cool would it be if we had all like the best dunkers in it again? I think it'd be cool, but
And actually, like, gave something to the winner enough to incentivize them, yeah, that'd be amazing. But no, and Chet says, this is the problem. We finally get a star everyone's trolling. Why would a star like Jar or Zion want to do it now? Because Jar or Zion wouldn't get trolled because they would do better dunks if they did it. That's why. But also, they aren't doing it anyways. Would the Pelicans even let Zion do it, given his injury history? I don't know. Kevin H says all the dunks have been done. It's boring. That's not true. You can always come up with some sort of gimmick that hasn't been done before. Ant tried to kiss the rim. I ain't seen that in an NBA dunk contest. He didn't succeed. He might have messed up his mouth if he did, but, you know, he tried something. I mean, freaking Blake Griffin jumping over the hood of the car. Jump over the roof of a car, then.
I mean, that's pretty dangerous for.
Well, yeah, Jaylen Brown doesn't got that type of bounce, but I don't know. I
We said it before the competition that he wasn't going to be a good dunker in this. Neither was Jaime Jaquez. They both proved us right.
Absolutely. But, like, I thought they would try and be a little bit. I thought they would try something a little bit harder.
I mean, maybe that's all you got, man.
I don't think that's all they got. I think that's part of the reason why Jaylen Brown got booed. So the dunk contest at this point is maybe worse than the All-Star game. They need to end Saturday night with a three-point contest. They need to have the dunk contest before it. Because if the dunk contest was before the three-point contest, at least after the dunk contest is done, people get excited like, oh, yay, we have the three-point contest now. The dunk contest is an anticlimactic way to end the night.
Until you get to, like, Levine versus Aaron Gordon.
Yeah. I mean, those guys were great. Like, if you had Shane Sharp in it, I'm sure Shane Sharp would be great. But the thing is, Aaron Gordon was a really good dunker, athletic, but he also tried to get creative. Mm-hmm. He also tried things that were, like, absurd, you know what I mean? And pulled them off. That's why it was so good. Like, I'm okay with the guy missing a few dunks if he's trying to do something crazy.
Yeah. For the record, the booing was because they had that floor that could change, and he had the floor changed to the Boston Celtics. So the Indiana fans were booing the Boston Celtics floor being on their floor.
Well, that wasn't even their floor because this is in their football stadium.
Well, I'm just saying it's in Indy. Like, so all the Indy fans were like, boo, we hate Boston.
Like, this man Aaron Gordon had a spinning mascot on a hoverboard with a ball rotating, and then, like, did a hand behind the head as he grabbed the ball and, like, windmill 360. Jaylen Brown did a freaking basic dunk and then, like, dabbed after, as if he was, like, dabbing during it, but he didn't even dab until after he dunked it. It's like, dude, what are you doing, bro? This ain't 2018.
But he, like, barely made the dunk. Like, he wasn't even that high, so.
It was bad.
Yeah.
So, the dunk contest, I mean, at this point, Eric, just bring in professional dunkers. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's kind of what Matt McClung is.
Well, he's nowhere near as good as some of the professional dunkers that actually, like, dunk.
Well, I know, but, like.
So, if you're going to. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Like, Mac McClung's a nobody in the NBA. He's a G League player. If you're going to go and bring in a G League player who's not even in the NBA, you might as well just start bringing in professional dunkers. Because if you brought in, like, Jordan Kilgannon is kind of the most notable name person for a professional dunker. If you brought him in with some of the stuff that he can do, if he could pull some of the stuff he's done, he does some insane stuff, bro. Like, it would tear the house down. It would be much better. I'd much rather watch him versus three other professional dunkers than watch Jaime Jaquez put a hat on backwards and do a basic dunk while Jaylen Brown dunks over Kai Cenat in a chair. So, that's just my opinion. Chris Staples, yeah, he's a legitimate one. But yeah.
Why did you?
I didn't time anyone out.
Oh, I'm talking to Jackson.
Oh, what'd Jackson do? Yeah, I saw the... Why did that get deleted?
I don't know.
Jackson. He's allowed to say that Simon's kissing the rim was stupid. That's fine. He's entitled to his opinion. I think saying that's stupid, but then defending Jaylen Brown is ridiculous, but... Noah says, but it's supposed to be about NBA players. We're supposed to celebrate the stars, so guys should stop being so scared to compete in it. Okay, well, if you feel that way, you shouldn't be calling what Anthony Simon's trying to kiss the rim stupid. If you feel that way. Because that's not consistent. So, like, I don't know. It's just a bad event now. It's been bad since Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine stopped participating. They got to get, Eric, they got to get somebody legitimate next year. They got to get Shaedon Sharpe. Like, but the thing is, if Shaedon Sharpe was in it, how much would he try?
I don't know.
Or would he even have to try?
Is he a good, like, dunk contest dunker? No one really knows that.
I mean, I think he would be. Yeah. He has size and he has vertical and he floats. I don't know. He's insane. But, like, the thing is, if Shaedon Sharpe was in it, people would anticipate it a lot more if you had a guy like that in it. So they gotta get him. Or somebody. Anyway. Anything else from the All-Star game, Eric? It was cool seeing Dame hit half-court shots. It was cool seeing him win MVP. It was lame that they booed it. But they wanted Halliburton.
I thought it was cool that his 3-point contest came down to the last shot.
Yeah. He, like, missed the last 5 when he was tied or whatever just to let it come down to the last shot. Any other questions we'll take? We'll be live again Thursday with Blazers Uprise live on our second channel. Link in description. Going live at about 3:30. We'll pick 13 games for picks against the spread. Or is it 12? It's like 12 or 13 games for picks. And then we'll have postgame on Friday. Noah says, Brown's dunks were bad, but appreciating him for finally being a star to compete in it and attempt to start this wave of stars like Ja and Zion to actually compete sometime. I would appreciate him finally being a star to compete in it if he actually gave effort to compete in it. You know? I feel like he didn't really try to bring anything competitive to it. Taylor, it feels amazing. Look at me up here on the screen. People want Tankathon. And actually, I already set up Tankathon. Thanks for reminding me. Let's do a good old Tankathon sim, Eric. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. All right, so 13th best odds right now for the Warriors pick, 4.8% chance of top 4. Portland, 42% chance top 4. You guys know the deal. Let's simulate this thing. Scroll from the bottom. See if we have good luck on this stream. I don't have sound effects. My apologies. 14 New Orleans, 13 Chicago. 13 is Chicago, Eric.
All right, so we lost the Golden State pick, but I actually think that might be a good thing. Now we have hope next year.
Yeah, as they win a championship with Alex Sarr. Hopefully it's not number 1. At 12 is Utah to OKC. At 11 is Houston to OKC. At 10 is Atlanta. At 9 is Brooklyn to Houston. At 8 is Memphis. At 7 is your Portland Trailblazers. Brutal.
8.
I would be at
we
7.
We get 8 and lose the second.
No, we're at 7. We fall 2 spots, though.
7.
Dude, that would make this, like, I'm looking forward to this draft, hopefully having, like, a top, 4 pick with a late lottery pick. That would be so much fun. If I have to lose another late lottery pick, Eric, I'm going to be upset. I just want a draft where we have a high pick with another late lottery pick. We got robbed with the Pelicans pick. Hopefully we don't get robbed with the Golden State pick. That's just brutal stuff. At 6, Charlotte. Like, after this year of sucking that bad, we only get the 7th pick. Ugh. At 5 is San Antonio. At 4 is Toronto. At 3 is... Wait, let me scroll up. Detroit. Golden State is 1 or 2. At number 2 is Golden State. And at number 1 is Washington. Washington, who do you think? Washington would be an interesting team pick in number 1. I don't know where they'd go. I feel like they go Sarr. They traded Gafford. But at 2, then what would Golden State do? I think Golden State would definitely take Sarr if they could. And I think he'd be massive for them, Eric. I think he'd help them out defensively.
Would they have a little bit of hesitation for Wiseman?
Yeah, but like Sarr's more skilled and better defensively and not injury prone like that, so I don't think it's the same. I don't think they would. Especially in this draft, it's not like you're taking him over somebody that's clearly better or I feel like Sarr's clearly better if he's there at 2. But I could see them going Ricochet. I feel like Ricochet is a guy that, if they're still trying to compete with that core, could add. Topic doesn't really make sense. I guess Cody Williams could make some sense. But yeah. Do you have any new prospect opinions, given that we're in the All-Star break?
I already said my opinion about Sarr earlier. I think he's... Like, I just don't understand anyone not having him 1.
Yeah. He's going to be a game changer defensively with some offensive skill with upside. But I know Castle's been, have a good game last game against Marquette, but they blew the doors off Marquette, so... But yeah, he's been impressive. He's somebody that I need to watch soon. Unfortunately, I haven't watched enough UConn.
Yeah. I think people are way too down on Isaiah Collier.
Yeah.
That's another take I have.
Yeah, I think in a draft class with how much upside, definitely. You could maybe make an argument for him over Dillingham for me. I'll probably have Collier in my top 10. I haven't messed with my big board in like 3 to 4 weeks. Johnny, what's his name? Johnny Furphy. I think he's going to be a mid first, if not higher. I think he's somebody we need to start. I don't know how much you've watched of him, but he could be an option there with that Golden State pick.
You think he's better than Grady Dick?
I don't know. I haven't watched him enough. He's Australian. He's been good for Kansas. He's not on Tankathon's big board, but I mean, we need shooting. Like, I'm not a Grady Dick fan, but that archetype, I am more intrigued by for this team as currently constructed than a Damon Simons-led team,
Yeah.
So
Tyler James says no Jayhawks or G League players.
why don't you like Jayhawks? Who's the best Jayhawk player in the league, though?
Joel Embiid.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Other
than him.
He got hurt that.
Yeah, he barely played. Other than him, though, like... Is Agbaji the next best? Am I forgetting someone? Oh, Andrew Wiggins. That was so long ago, though.
We're probably forgetting someone, really.
Yeah, but, like, since Embiid and Wiggins, like, that's like 8-9 years where Kansas has been good, but they haven't had, like, any really good NBA players that I can remember. So I understand being against them. But people use that logic with Gonzaga, and Gonzaga has been consistently putting in quality NBA players into the league recently.
Oh, yeah. World champion Christian Braun.
Yeah, Brown. Yeah, I agree with that. Brown's better than Oshai. Yeah, so anyway. That's Tankathon. Brutal sim. Brutal simulation, man. Anything else for the stream, Eric?
Well, thanks, everyone, for watching. Hope you all have a good rest of your nights. And hope to see you all on Thursdays. Blazers Uprise live. And then also after the game on Friday. Let's try to make the rest of the season fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to the stretch run of the season. This stream has been brought to you by BetUS. Remember that link in the description with promo code JOIN125 for 3 deposit matches of 125%. You can get in on those end of the season awards that we looked at earlier in the stream. You can get in on Western and Eastern Conference winners for the NBA playoffs. You can get in on who you think the NBA champion will be. I know you guys are an educated community, and you can test that over at BetUS. They feature 24-hour payouts, 24/7 customer service. That's why they're America's favorite sportsbook. 3 deposit matches of 125%. We're live again on Thursday. Looking forward to picks against the spread. And got some fun stuff planned for the final 28 games of the regular season on post-game shows. So hopefully we'll catch you for one of those as well. And with that being said, that's a wrap. And until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.